Kia ora whānau. So today's video is going to be a birth story video. My birth vlog was very vague and not detailed because holy heck, I didn't really anticipate how hard it would be to vlog when no one else is like really helping you. I gave birth on the 21st of January 2020 at 4:09 a.m. to beautiful baby Cove. His full name is Cove Davies Nikota, and I was in active labor for about 12 hours and altogether, including early labor, over a few days. Basically 2 to 3 days prior to the 21st. I was getting really painful sore contractions that were irregular, so like when I went to sleep they would slow right down, even though a lot of the contractions would still wake me up, like they were painful enough to wake me up. They weren't regular, so they'd be 10 minutes apart for like a few hours and then they'd go away completely, or they'd just be like a tightening Braxton Hick, not a painful one. So it was super irregular contractions, and it was honestly the most pain that I've been in relating to my uterus. I never really had period cramps when I had a natural period, and it was making my back swell up. So that was, yeah, it was super painful, and just it didn't make me feel very well. Obviously I wasn't getting any sleep, so for 2 to 3 days before I gave birth, I got like no sleep at all because I just couldn't sleep through them. They just kept waking me up. So I'd say like I was getting woken up every like half an hour to every hour throughout the whole night. And it just wasn't progressing fast, and it was making me really frustrated. As you could see in the early labor vlog, I like cry a lot, and honestly I'd wake up very angry the next day. Even before the contractions had started, I was just feeling super angry and super emotional. And the last month was really hard for outside reasons as well. So yeah, the last month of pregnancy was freaking emotionally draining and frustrating, as well as painful towards, you know, the last few days. So on the 19th, which was the 2 days before, so on the 19th, that was a Sunday night, I was getting really strong painful contractions. My back was swollen at this point, and they were 6 minutes apart, lasting 1 minute about. They were inconsistent, so sometimes they were like 8 minutes apart, sometimes they were 5 minutes apart. So it wasn't super consistent, but it averaged about 6 minutes or so apart and lasting about 40 seconds to over a minute. Again, inconsistent, but it was super painful, and I just waited it out, and then I called the hospital and asked when should I come in. They said if the contractions were 5 minutes apart lasting 1 minute towards the end of the night, that happened, and it lasted for 2 hours. So I called Naz and asked if he could take me to the hospital. Naz didn't think that anything was super, you know, crazy. He was like, we're probably gonna get sent home. I felt the same way, but it was so frustrating that I wanted to see how it was all progressing. When I went in, I was still only 2 centimeters dilated, which was what I was stretched and swept to before at my antenatal appointment, like a week prior, less than a week prior, like maybe like 4 days before. So that was super like annoying, and I felt really sad and frustrated because I was going through pain and there was like no progressing, and at this point I am overdue. So I felt very sad and frustrated. The midwife performed another stretch and sweep on me, and she stretched me to 3 centimeters dilated, and then I stayed there for about like another hour, I think, and then I got sent home because it just wasn't progressing by itself, and my contractions were slowing down as well. So they were no longer 6 minutes apart, they were more like 10 minutes apart, which was super frustrating. Me and Naz went home to my place. He stayed the night, and throughout the night I felt really not well. When I'm not well, I usually have like fever dreams where I'm not fully asleep, but I'm not awake either, and I kind of repeat one word over and over again in my head. One night it was Christmas in Māori but said wrong, and then that night Nicole, if you're watching this sounds super weird, but I was trying to get Naz's attention because I wasn't feeling well, but my head just kept saying Nicole instead of Naz, and Nicole's one of my baby mama friends, so that was like super weird. Morning time finally came and I could, you know, get up and start my day, because it's easier to just be tired and start the day than be tired during the night. And yeah, I just wasn't feeling that well. Naz stayed at mine until like 3:30, I think, because I was still getting regular contractions. But then they slowed right down towards the afternoon, and that's why Naz went home, because it just stopped progressing. I felt super frustrated as soon as he left. I like cried, and I was just so like frustrated that I wasn't making any progress on my own, and it just felt really crappy. So while Naz was here, I pumped some colostrum because I just wanted to try the pumping, like I'm overdue, and I stayed on my exercise ball, and then once he had left, I went and had a bath. Now, before the bath, the contractions started up again, and they were super uncomfortable and painful again, and when I hopped in the bath, they got kind of worse, and I just felt really not great. And yeah, that continued for a while, and then around like 4 p.m, 4:30, they picked up enough to be super regular. So it started off again at 6 minutes, but this time regular, and then it went down to 4 minutes apart and lasting over a minute. I was like groaning in my bed and like, you know, having a sook during each contraction in my bed, and then I moved out to the lounge with my family because my mum asked me to. She was like, I think you need to come out here so that I can actually, you know, keep an eye on you and stuff. And I'm just like groaning and moaning. Every contraction is coming every 4 minutes, and I definitely cannot talk through them. I'm feeling very grumpy. I'm feeling very sad. And my mom's like, okay, I think you're in labor, you need to call Naz. And I was like, no, I don't want to waste his time. I wasted his time last night, so I just want to wait. So I waited until like maybe 7 o'clock at night, so that's like 3-ish hours, and mom was like, that's it, I'm calling Naz. I think around 7, I don't even know. She was like, yeah, I'm gonna call Naz and get him to come over, and you're gonna go to the hospital. When Naz got the phone call from my mum, I think he definitely believed it a lot more, and like he trusted that I was probably in labor, and when he walked through the door, he was like, yep, it's all go. Like that was his thoughts, whether I was super skeptical because I was feeling so crappy about not making any progress before, and I was just like, no, I'm wasting everyone's time, I'm just being a pussy, these aren't like, this isn't labor, you know. But it's painful as heck and so regular. I tried eating and I just couldn't. I only got half a peach down and like 1 McDonald's hotcake, and it was not cute. I was so thirsty. I was drinking lots of water, and during each contraction my mum was pressing a heat bag to my lower back because that's where I was feeling all the pain. So anyways, Naz gets here and we pack up the car and I hop in the car, and holy heck, the car ride sucks even more than the first time when I went to the hospital, because I'm in pain, and sitting in a car is not the right position you want to be in when you're feeling that kind of pain. I think I got about like 3 contractions in the car, maybe. Yeah, they were super regular, super sore. We get to the hospital about like 7:30 to 8. I don't even really know when. I thought it was the afternoon, and then I saw that it was like nighttime, and I was like, what the heck? I thought like it was still like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. For some reason, like my mind was just out the gutter. So when you get there, they did the check. I'm not sure what happened first, whether they checked my blood pressure and stuff first, or whether they checked my cervix. But either way, they checked all of that stuff, and I was now 4 centimeters dilated, which means I was in active labor and I could stay in the hospital. and then they checked my temperature and blood pressure and stuff, and my temperature was high. So I think it was 39 degrees, which is a fever. So they put me on the CTG monitor to monitor me and baby. When they did this, the alarm immediately went off, which was what I was used to. Baby's heartbeat is always fast. It's always like over 160, which sets off the alarm when it goes to 170, I think. And she was like, oh, baby's heartbeat's really fast. And I was like, oh, it's usually really fast. And she's like, well, no, it's hitting over 200. She's like, I know that his heartbeat's like fast. Like she could see that in his records, but it's hitting over 200. So his heartbeat was going, I think 206 maybe was the highest that it was going, and I was staying between like 185 and 206, and just like going up and down between those two. My pulse was high, so my pulse was 120 resting, I think, and then yeah, my temperature was high as well, and then I was getting my regular contractions. So when they saw all that jazz, they were like, okay, you've got an infection of some sort. So sorry, I had to be put on medication. I honestly don't know what I was put on. I have no freaking clue, but they put an IV in my hand. So they put in this one first, but then it like hit a wall or something, and that freaking hurt. So then they put it in my wrist down here, and they started fluids of some kind in me, and some kind of drugs, antibiotics, I guess, maybe, I don't even really know. And I'm pretty sure because baby's heartbeat was so fast and I had some kind of infection, they put me on Pitocin, which is a hormone to speed up labor, I'm pretty sure. And that meant that my water birth plan was completely out the window. Like, it just even, it wasn't an option. And at that point, I was kind of glad in a way, because holy heck, I was not dealing with the pain, and I was seriously considering the epidural. So yeah, I'm still feeling all my contractions in my lower back, and every time I get a contraction, I get Naz to like push the heat bag into my lower back. He was like burning his arm just trying to keep the heat bag on my lower back, because holy heck, it felt so good when heat and pressure was applied to like the dimples of your back, I guess. It felt so much better. It felt like you could get through it. But yeah, the thing about the contractions are they are like waves. Like it just like builds, and then when it goes down, it feels good. So in a way it's tolerable, but it sucks. It does freaking suck. It's a really bad pain, and I don't know how to describe it because I've never had anything like it. But yeah, it's definitely in waves. But I felt like mine weren't actually that bad, just because, I don't know, there's been a lot more worse births, I'm sure. So my mum and Ty, which is Naz's mum, and Naz are in the room with me, and my midwife was so amazing. She isn't my normal midwife, I didn't have one. She's just a hospital one to deliver my baby, and she was so amazing. I really, really loved having her. She was super encouraging and super sweet. But anyways, Ty went and got Burger King because Naz was super hungry, and honestly I was so hungry too. The only thing I felt like was like the potato chips. The nurses were like kind of unsure if I should be eating, but they let me have a little bit, and I honestly had like maybe like 5 fries, and I ended up vomiting those later on because the pain was just so like a lot, and like you're trying to breathe a lot, so your mouth gets super dry, and it's just like you do not feel well. I tried the gas, and that freaking sucked hard out. Like the gas sucked. It didn't give me any relief at all. It mostly panicked me because like you have to like breathe through this thing that you put in your mouth instead of just breathing, and I found it like difficult to breathe through the piece. Like it didn't come natural to me, and I felt like I didn't feel like anything, and it just tasted really gross. In between each contraction, I kept saying, I'm so hungry. Like, I kept just saying, I'm so hungry. And everyone's like, yeah, well, you have to give birth before you can eat, okay? But I was just so hungry. So anyways, I don't know when they broke my water, but they artificially broke it. I don't know if that was before or after I was 5 centimeters dilated, but yeah, they broke my waters. That felt like the weirdest thing ever. It was so warm and so much liquid, and yeah, it was gross, but kind of felt really cool. When it happened, I was like, okay, yeah, no, my waters did not break. I have no idea what happened, guys, when my, video with the false alarm about my waters breaking. I legit have no idea what happened. Maybe I did leak a little, but I don't know. I must have just peed again. Like, I don't know, but yeah. Anyways. So yeah, they artificially broke my waters. At some point I'm 5 centimeters dilated, and I'm honestly not handling the contractions. They are so sore, and I am so tired. I've had no sleep. I have no food in my system. I'm just like, oh my God, I can't do this. Like, that's what I was saying. I was like, I would like the epidural. Like, that's what I need. I can't have my water. I can't have the shower on my back because I'm all IV'd up and on the monitor. So I was like there's nothing that I can do to make myself feel better right now. I just have to sit on this bed all uncomfortable and go through these contractions. Cove's waking up. So I think around 1 o'clock in the morning I asked for the epidural. Well, my mom kind of did, and yeah, they said yes. And what happens is that you're only allowed one support person in the room when the anesthetist comes in, and you need to stay very still, hunch over your belly like this, so that he can get the needle in and it's all safe and stuff, and you cannot move, which is freaking difficult when you're getting contractions. It's so hard and it hurts so bad. So what I did was I got Naz to sit in front of me. So my feet were like on a chair in front of the bed. I'm like hunched over, and I got Naz to sit in front of me, sit on my feet on the chair, and then I was squeezing the hell out of his arms and pushing my forehead against his forehead, because I don't know, that just felt like it helped. Naz reckoned I moved quite a bit, but the anesthetist said that I did a good job, so that's good. I was like practicing while the anesthetist was like getting ready and like getting all this stuff together. I was like practicing staying still throughout the contractions, but obviously they were so intense at that point that it was like getting difficult to like stay still. So I was practicing, and then once he was actually doing the needles and stuff, I did okay, apparently, so that's good. Once it was in, I felt like a pain in my left leg, but like not really. It was just like a shooting feeling, and that was about it. And then yeah, it felt like cold was going into my body, which felt pretty cool. And yeah, so that just like numbed you from here downwards, I'm pretty sure. And then they like tape up your back, and it's just like a string that's like sits in your back and stuff, and then slowly delivers you epi. I don't really know like what this means, but I was on number 8. That was what I was on, number 8 epidural, I guess. So at this point I'm like, cool. I'm like getting my contractions, and they're slowly getting less and less painful. They're still super painful, but you can feel on each one that they're getting less and less and less. I'm moaning less and less and less. I'm needing Naz desperately to push on my back less and less and less, and then eventually they just feel like my contractions I had when I was in the car accident, which is just like a little bit of discomfort and tightening, and that was it. And I didn't really feel much, so I was like, cool, I can definitely sleep through these. I don't need to moan and groan. It's just a little bit uncomfortable, like a little bit of a cramp. Then I'm like, cool, I'm gonna get some sleep. my mum and dad and Ty are all out in the like waiting lounge having a sleep, and Naz falls asleep next to me on his like little reclining chair. And I'm like, cool, I'm excited, I feel really good. I even videoed myself, I was like, I feel so good. And I was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna turn on my side and go to sleep. So I turned onto my left side, and then all of a sudden I get a contraction and it hurts. And it hurts quite a bit, like when I was at home type hurting. And I was like, oh, and I was groaning, and the midwife comes over and she was like, did you feel that? I was like, yeah. And then I get another one like real quickly, and that is way worse. And then I get another one real quickly, and holy heck, they're close together. They're about a minute apart and lasting a minute, so I'm not getting much of a break. I start, you know, kind of panicking. They're like, oh no, she can feel everything again. I'm like, what the heck, why isn't this working? I'm trying to wake up Naz. He's not waking up. He's a bloody deep sleeper. And I'm literally like smacking his leg while I'm in pain, like trying to wake him up, but I'm pretty weak, to be honest, at this point. The midwives are like, oh no, she's feeling it, we gotta up it. And they were like, we'll up it from 8 to 10. We'll get the doctor, he needs to tell us, like, you know, what he thinks should happen. And yeah, I'm just getting these contractions. Naz wakes up. I am like, not yowling, well, yeah, like yowling. I'm like yowling in pain, like super loud. Everything really hurts. I start like shivering like crazy. Like I am like shivering and chattering my teeth because the pain is just so bad. And it just hurt so bad. That was honestly the most pain that I've ever been in, that like period of time of contractions. They were just so close together. I wasn't getting a break. In between contractions, I was just shivering like crazy, and like I didn't feel very well. Bear in mind, during this whole thing, baby's heartbeat's still fast, my heartbeat's still fast, my temperature's still super high. It's not going down. And so yeah. So they ended up upping my epi to 12, and my midwife decides that, okay, we're gonna check your dilation, even though she just checked a few hours ago. And I was 5 centimeters. She's like, I'm gonna check your dilation. So she checks, and I am 10 centimeters dilated, and baby is on his way down the birth canal. And this happened in less than an hour. So I'd say about 40 minutes, I went from 5 to 10 and the baby coming down. So that's why it was so intense, and the epi wasn't strong enough in my system to deal with that intense pain. So that's why I felt all of it. I was still feeling the contractions. It was freaking horrible, but when they had upped it, it was slowly getting better and better, very slowly. And I was gaining control of, you know, my shivering and chattering and feeling panicked. So because baby was in the birth canal, the doctor said I can start pushing, and so we got ready to push. Mum and Ty come back in the room, and the contractions are just so painful, like holy heck. I'm like getting Naz to squeeze the hell out of my hand and like crush it. You know when someone like squeezes your hand and like crushes your knuckles together and it like hurts? That's what I was wanting him to do, just like squeeze the hell out of my hand, like hurt my hand, so that my brain could like focus on that sensation rather than the contractions. And then on this hand, I was just holding my mom's hand and trying not to crush her hand because I don't want to hurt my mom. But yeah, I was trying to like, I was squeezing the hell out of Naz and trying to get him to hurt me so that I could focus on that. I'm drinking water in between my contractions. They're super regular, but hi honey. But yeah, at this point, I've vomited like so much throughout this labor, and Naz and my mom, I don't think Ty ever held a bag. Naz and my mom are like holding the vomit bags to my face, and I totally puked on Naz a little bit. Whoopsies, sorry. But yeah, disgusting. Anyways, so I get told to start pushing, and that's what I do. I'm starting to numb up down there. Like slowly throughout the pushing progress. I think I pushed for like 2 hours, so you know, it was some time to like numb up, but in the first half maybe I could still feel things and it felt horrible. And I was so thirsty, and I was just tired and hungry. And every time I would drink, when you'd push, you're like this. So like I'm kind of like crushing this area, and it would make me feel really sick, so I'd vomit a lot. And every time I'd vomit, it was actually helping push the baby down the birth canal, which was, you know, handy, because I'm used to vomiting. If I'm being honest, it's like my body's coping mechanism. It's like, oh, we're not feeling well, vomit. Like I don't really get nauseous for long. My body just like goes straight to vomiting. So yeah, there was a point where like I couldn't really feel anything. It was numb down there again, and all I could feel was like intense pressure, but I felt much better. Like I could feel the contraction. It was a little bit of pain, but it was mostly pressure. The pains beforehand had gone, and I was kind of struggling to know how to push and where to like push, because I couldn't feel anything. So I was kind of like, I don't know if I'm pushing from the right place. I wasn't scared of pooping in front of everyone. I literally thought it would be funny if I did. I asked people to make sure it was recorded somehow, because that is just funny if I pooed in front of everyone, in my opinion. But yeah, once I figured it out, apparently I pushed quite well. I felt his head like twice. It felt real weird and gross. Yeah, I'm pushing for a while, like 2 hours, just under maybe. And Naz is getting ready to catch the baby because he's almost out. And I push him out, and his head comes out, but along with his head is his hand, and his hand is like this on his face. So Naz wasn't allowed to catch the baby anymore. He like briefly put his hand on the baby's butt, but the midwives really had to catch him just in case anything was wrong, because he didn't come out normally. So I had to freaking push a baby's head and hand out at the same time. But it's a good thing because he was small. So yeah, I gave birth at 4:09 a.m. He came out. He was 7.3 pounds, 53 centimeters long. We did skin to skin straight away, and baby opened his eyes literally not before he was born. Like he was still inside of me, and he opened his eyes, and then as soon as he was on my chest, he opened his eyes, and he was literally trying to lift his head, like, but he didn't make a big cry like he's supposed to, but he was crying, just not like a big one that like helps clear out the lungs and stuff. He just wasn't doing that. And his breathing was super shallow, so they actually ended up taking him off me and putting him on the resus table and giving him positive pressure on his lungs and oxygen as well. That was just to help his breathing because his lungs were sticking together, and then that was going really well. And then they gave him the vitamin K shot, which is like an injection for blood clotting, I think. And that helped him let out a big cry, which helped clear his lungs as well. And so he was all good. He was probably on the resus table for like, I don't know, like half an hour, maybe 40 minutes, like quite a while. I didn't get to have him, which sucked. And no one was really talking me through it, but in my heart I was just like, he's fine, like he is fine. I trust everyone, like, you know, I trust everyone, and yeah. So that's why I just kept saying in my head. And we did skin to skin again, and I breastfed him, and he latched pretty well. It was uncomfortable, but not bad. Honestly, I feel like my nipples on this side was numb, so that helped with like the discomfort. But he latched really well. He didn't have tongue tie apparently. And yeah, I was super numb. I couldn't move my legs. Well, actually I could move my legs, but I wasn't allowed to like get out of bed, and it was really heavy. Like everything was really heavy. Super hungry, super tired, and super thirsty. I didn't get any sleep still. I mean, I was sleeping a little bit between like 4 and 7 o'clock in the morning, like off and on, but I wasn't feeling really well, so I wasn't getting any good sleep, and I honestly just wanted my baby. And yeah, that was basically it. That is how my birth went. All my other postpartum stuff I'm gonna do in a different video, but yeah, that was literally how the birth went. And he's a beautiful baby boy, and everything was fine. He's literally been the perfect baby. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully that interests you. And yeah, I'm gonna go do some washing, go to the toilet before this little boy wakes up, and then yeah, when he wakes up, I guess I'm gonna be a mum. Okay, bye.